Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, it's going to be cold and very winter-like across the prairie with some heavy snow on the way across parts of Manitoba, so a very winter-like October week here across the prairie. Looking at our temperature anomaly forecast over the next 5 days, going ahead and breaking the color scale for the second time this winter, or this fall, I should say, with temperatures 20 degrees Fahrenheit below average here from parts of southern Alberta, near the Canadian border here in southern Saskatchewan, and then on into the northern plains of the United States. As we look at the precipitation here, this coming from the storm system over the next 48 to 72 hours as we head to the end of the week into the weekend, bringing some heavy snow to parts of southern Manitoba and some heavy precipitation on into southern and western Ontario as well. Dry elsewhere over the next 6 to 7 days across much of the prairie, only looking at light, isolated precipitation here across the prairie. It's a Manitoba problem here as we talk about the heavy snow, but the cold is everyone's problem as we head through the next week or so. Going ahead and taking a look at the satellite picture here as we wake up on Wednesday morning, watching a big area of low pressure off to the north. Now this is the one that's dragging the cold front through the region, bringing in all kinds of cold air on the back side here. This front has cleared almost the entire prairie by this point now, and now it will begin its journey across parts of the United States over the next couple of days. Looking at the radar here underneath those clouds, we do have some light precipitation falling from southeastern Saskatchewan into parts of southern Manitoba. Some light rain here, perhaps as we head into the later part of the day, seeing some of that precipitation transition over to some light snow here across primarily portions of south central Manitoba. We do have some special weather statements in effect here across the southern half of Manitoba, and where we have red here, that's where we've got a snowfall warning here, where some of the higher elevations could pick up upwards of 15 centimeters of snow, light accumulations elsewhere, heavier stuff to come here as we head into Friday and Saturday. Now we'll take a look at the high-resolution NAM model. This is an American model here. It mostly runs focused on the United States. We do get part of the prairie up here, and we get enough of it to where I can show the precipitation here over the next couple of days, setting up here across southern Manitoba, parts of southeastern Saskatchewan. So we'll go ahead and we'll start this loop. We're going to bring it back here. I'll click through time. Let me go ahead and jump back, clicking all over the place. Taking this into the morning hours now, seeing some of this precipitation. Again, perhaps changing over to some light snow across southeastern Saskatchewan, parts of southwestern and south central Manitoba as we head into the afternoon and evening. This light snow might taper off into some light flurries. The heavier precipitation, though, starts to move into the area tomorrow. That would be Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon, and then it's really going to linger for a while as we head into Friday and Saturday. This is when the heaviest snow is expected to fall here. Again, heading into Friday afternoon now. That snow still sticking over southern Manitoba. We'll take a wider look now at the GFS model. This will help us kind of pinpoint it a little bit better. Again, some of that light precipitation here falling today before it really starts to crank with snow across a big chunk of southern Manitoba. We'll go ahead and bring it back here to Wednesday, taking it into now Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, seeing that snow taper off for the most part into the overnight, then picking back up in a heavier fashion here in a more concentrated band. So there's likely going to be a sharp cutoff here between heavy snow and no snow as we go across towards the Manitoba and Saskatchewan border. We'll take this through Thursday evening now into Friday morning, seeing this area of low pressure now really wrapping up near Duluth, near the Minnesota and Ontario border. As this low tracks northward now and begins to occlude or begin to wind down, we still see that snow falling even as we head into Sunday morning, at least in light fashion, some flurries hanging on. But this thing really begins to dump on southern Manitoba, primarily beginning late in the day Thursday into Friday, and then into much of the day Saturday, tapering off Sunday. That's when then we'll watch for some light precipitation coming in, perhaps across parts of Alberta, maybe getting some light snow as we get into early next week, but not talking about anything like what we're talking about across southern Manitoba. Now, it's not just going to be the snow. We'll see some very strong winds on the backside of this storm system as well. Watch right here, right as we're having peak snow, we see those strong northerly winds gusting anywhere from 30 to 40 knots, perhaps some gusts to 50 knots. Again, combined with some heavy snow and some very cold temperatures, just a brutal weekend here across parts of southern Manitoba, and a cold weekend for everybody. But here again, we see those winds really ramping up, strongest here as we head into Friday morning and then continuing to be strong as we head through the day on Saturday, starting to taper off Saturday night into Sunday, but winds still likely anywhere from 10 to 20, maybe 30 knots, even as we head into Sunday. So now we'll take a look at the probability of snow accumulation. I have a problem showing snow maps here where they give exact accumulation amounts for a few reasons, and the biggest one being that they're often not accurate, and that kind of plants a false forecast in your head. Then when I give you an exact number to plan for, it's not going to happen, and then of course you lose confidence, lose trust in your meteorologist that way. The better way to approach snow here is with probabilities, and what we can do is we can take a look here at the GFS ensemble forecast. And what that is the GFS model runs a handful of times, and then we take each of those solutions with slightly different outcomes, and then we take the probability here between the different outcomes. And I'll just go ahead and play it so we can see what this looks like. This is the probability of more than 6 inches of snow accumulating, and that would be 15 centimeters of snow. And you see the darker colors here when we get up to red, that's our higher probabilities. And we see those concentrated right here across the heart of southern Manitoba, going southward into the North Dakota, South Dakota, and parts of western Minnesota as we talk about the United States. So that's the probability nearing 100% of at least 15 centimeters of snow. Now we'll do the same thing to look at 12 inches or 30 centimeters. We'll play this through the weekend again, watching the storms stack up there again with that heavy snow falling late Thursday into Friday and Saturday, tapering off Sunday. And again, we see right through almost south central Manitoba. So it's right in the middle here of Manitoba where the highest probability is going to be of more than 30 centimeters of snow. Some of these models are outputting some extreme totals here, upwards of 80 to 90 centimeters. And that's again where they're having trouble here. Let me go ahead and explain something else about the snow models. A lot of them assume a 10-to-1 ratio with liquid to snow. And what that means is for every 1 inch of rain or liquid precipitation, we'd get 10 inches of snow accumulation. Now, as we look at snowfall events throughout the winter, only, it's very rare that you get that exact 10-to-1 ratio. Often, maybe it's 12-to-1 if you've got a drier snow, or an 18-to-1 ratio with some of the really cold and quick accumulating snows. This is going to be a heavy, wet snow, and that heavy, wet snow compacts and it doesn't accumulate quite so fast. And so we're probably talking more like a 6-to-1 ratio. So where some of these weather models, some of them are outputting exact amounts here, around 80, 85 centimeters of snow in the heaviest corridor, you're probably going to trim that maybe not quite in half, but nearly in half. And that's where I come with the highest band of snow. Let me play this out again so you can see the corridor here with the highest probabilities of at least of 12 inches. Let's go ahead. Here's the 12 inch. So 30 centimeters of snow. This is where we expect the heaviest corridor. I think our heaviest corridor, probably looking at certainly significant snowfall, probably about 40 to 60 centimeters in the heaviest bands. We'll talk about the snow here in just a minute, just a little bit more. First, I want to show you the cold front. This is going to be what's going to be plaguing a more widespread chunk of the Canadian prairie, is this very cold air coming in. Now, we do start to moderate as we head into the middle to late part of next week, but it's going to be a cold next 6 to 7 days across the prairie. And then this is focused on the U.S., but it's just such a cool animation. I just want to play the cold front now, continuing on Thursday and Friday into the heart of the United States here, and it's just amazing to see this thing cutting across the way that it does, just like a razor blade cutting across, ending summer across the United States. Now let's talk about total precipitation here in Alberta. It's going to be a dry week, maybe some light precipitation coming in here on the back half of the week and into Monday. Some of that could be some light snow. But again, talking about less than 5 to 10 centimeters of snow here across Alberta, except for in the higher elevations here across the border. As we look at the high temperatures today, near freezing on the backside of that cold front, overnight lows dropping below freezing into the sub-zero range. High temperatures tomorrow, this will be Thursday, in the single digits. Overnight lows Thursday night into Friday, once again dropping below zero. Warming up slightly for the day on Friday with a high temperature around 8 or 9 degrees across the prairie, heading up towards 10 to 12 as you go northward. Looking at total precipitation across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, here is the big storm dumping all of that liquid precipitation, or all of the snow as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Although it will be liquid precipitation as we head off to the east here across southeastern Manitoba into Ontario. Now I'm going to play the total accumulated snowfall, and I'm going to just tell you, just ignore the numbers over here on the right, because again, the model's likely overdoing the total accumulation, and it's still going to be a significant storm. We don't need the extreme 85 centimeter totals here, but pick up on where the model is putting the most snow, and it's right here through southern Saskatchewan here. Southern Manitoba, I apologize, into southwestern Manitoba. And again, this is where I think probably talking about something like 40 to 60 centimeters in the heaviest band there, which is still plenty of a headache here. And then as we talk about the snow here in this range, where you see this band going off, kind of doing something like this, where the model is maybe suggesting something more like the order of 30 centimeters here, probably talking more like 15 to 20, maybe near 30 centimeters here in the heaviest corridor. So let's go ahead and we'll do this. I know I'm drawing a lot in here, but probably talking about 15 to 30 centimeters within this exterior band, 40 to 60 centimeters right here across south central Manitoba. Your high temperatures for the day on Wednesday in the single digits here, the cold front making its way off across the region here, heading off to the southeast through the rest of the day today. Overnight lows, morning temperatures on Thursday below zero across Saskatchewan, holding on to a couple of degrees across southern Manitoba. The highs for the day tomorrow in the single digits, and then falling below zero for just about everyone except for eastern Manitoba overnight Thursday into Friday morning. And then your highs on Friday in the single digits across southern Saskatchewan. We'll now be dealing with heavy snow across this region. Temperatures right around freezing, maybe a degree above freezing. Still seeing snowfall across the region, but again, that's why we're dealing with a heavy, wet snow here. We're only going to be right about at freezing, maybe even a degree above that, but snow still able to fall here with the freezing temperatures above our heads. But that is why we have the lower snow to liquid ratios and why some of these weather models are likely overdoing the snow amounts here into the extreme category, but still dealing with a significant storm. I don't want to say that I'm naysaying that this is going to be a major storm. I'm just exercising caution on some of the exact model output that's being shown here. While I think it's still going to be a significant snowstorm with 40 to 60 centimeters of snow possible, I think that you just have to exercise some caution when we look at some of the exact snowfall forecasts being put out there. Now, as always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast, and then I'll be back to talk about the Canadian Prairie again on Friday morning. Have a great day. Do your best to stay warm out there.